keep it real with ya.
Hey guys, it's me, Minu. Back with another video, kind of unstructured video today because I don't feel so well. So I'm gonna kind of give you guys an update on how everything's been going and then talk about a situation that happened this week. I did not see my therapist this week because she's got COVID. So yeah, I'm just hoping that she's okay and that our kids are okay because people out here dying. I'm wearing a shirt that I haven't worn this shirt in a minute, but it's basically kind of like the see no, speak no, hear no evil thing with the skulls. And then I got this blanket. So I hope you guys can see that well. So quick note about the other videos. So the other videos I was editing with this free editor called Lightworks, and I liked it at first because it's really easy to edit something when you can see the video and the audio, and you can even like separate them from each other. Sadie, what are you doing to your sister? Leave her alone. Leave her tail alone. But then for no reason, it just started fucking up the audio. And I think it's probably because I wasn't paying for the pro version. And I was like, I'm not gonna play with you guys. Like, either have it be free or don't have it be free. You know, like I did the one with Wondershare where it was like, you can do it for free, but we're gonna put this big bar across the video to like kind of force you to get it. And I'm like, okay, fine, but also tell me that shit before I edited this whole video. But yeah, so if there was some audio errors in the last few ones, then that's what it is that Lightworks played me and decided just to fuck up the audio. And there was nothing I could do to fix it. I tried to put in the clips and everything. It wouldn't work. And then I had to go to the free editor that I was already using before and actually like edit these clips and then input the clips into Lightworks so that I could have audio. I think that's some bullshit. I shouldn't have to do that. So this is going to be edited on my like regular editor. Oh, also the other one didn't allow me to do 1080p, but the free version, basic version that I usually use does. So I'm like, yeah, playing. But anyway, on to what happened this week. So I've been working in HR for a few years now, in different areas. I worked in HR in a nonprofit. I worked in HR with like the recruiting space for a while. I worked with immigration for a while, investigations for a while. Now I'm doing kind of like basic HR support stuff. So the role I'm in now, it's still HR, but it's like a call center. So it's like, you know, basic HR questions, you know, like payroll stuff or, somebody want to know who their HR advisor is. Somebody want to know what the policy is. Somebody want to know vacation stuff, you know, just very, very basic HR stuff. And somehow it's like worse than the other HR jobs I've had, which the other HR jobs I've had were like much more high level. Like I really have to understand like, you know, like labor relations or like foreign policy or whatever. As far as immigration and stuff was. So I'm like, but this one for some reason is worse than the other ones, probably because our number is like public for anybody to call. And so I get a lot of calls of people being like, I want a job. And I'm like, I can't help you with that. I'm not this is not the recruiting line. But I also get calls from people who are kind of like blaming me for problems that have nothing to do with me. So they'll call me and they'll be like, you playing with my money. And I'm like, who is you? Because I don't know. I do not handle your money. What are you talking about? You think I personally made the ATM malfunction? You think I personally called your bank and said, hey, don't let them cash that paycheck? Like, no, I didn't. But they blame me for it anyway. If somebody's upset with like a software that we use, like they're having trouble, like, let's say somebody's trying to put in their time off and they're having trouble, all of a sudden it's my fault, but I have nothing to do with that process. I mean, and I'll help you, I will, but I have nothing to do with that process. And so I made a video on my phone and then I was like, this video sucks. So I didn't upload it anywhere, but I was really, really, really frustrated because the thing about HR is that HR encompasses so many different things And then there are people who feel like HR should do everything. Now, if you're at a small company, yeah, HR probably does everything. So yeah, they're probably the hiring people and the firing people and the people you file complaints to and the people who deal with your payroll and the people who you do your time off requests with, like in a smaller company. But when you get to like larger companies, it becomes so divided, so like everything becomes so specialized that there's no one person that does everything. But I still get calls from people who think that I do everything. Especially because I'm at a company that's large enough to have multiple locations. So it's like people calling me thinking that I'm the person who they talked to at their job the other day. And I'm like, I'm not. No, I'm not even near that location. That's another city, sir. And it's just really frustrating because I do tell people like, hey, HR is not your friend. I tell them that. I'm not going to lie about it. You know, somebody called me and they're like, well, you know, I might have to sue. I'm like, you do what you got to do. You know what I mean? It ain't my job to say, oh, no, don't sue. I'll do what you want. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. You want to sue? Go sue. Shit, they ain't got nothing to do with my paycheck. You know what I mean? That's the company. That's the company. They the ones got the lawyers and stuff to fight that. That ain't got nothing to do with me. So, and people be doing that. People be threatening and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know why you threatening me. But I do tell people like, yeah, HR is not your friend, because the more I talk to like older HR people, because I'm somebody who I care a lot. I care a lot about the people that I help. Because of one experience I had, like my first job was so terrible, and I'm not ready to do a whole video about it yet because it's really triggering. It got me really interested in HR. It got me really interested in like, you know, helping people basically not go through what I went through. Basically, I don't want other people to go through it. So I want to learn as much as possible about the labor relations, labor laws, and all that stuff to make sure that, you know, people are having a good experience at work, or even if they're not, it's not like a illegal situation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want nobody stealing your wages, forcing you to work overtime when you shouldn't be. Like, I want to help people that way. But when I talk to older HR people, and, you know, maybe my generation will be different. Do you need something, Morticia? But okay. But you know, maybe our generation will change things, but right now HR is a lot of older people. So when I talk to like older people, like their 50s and stuff, a lot of things that I've come to realize is that, you know, HR was created not to serve the employees, not to help the employees, but to kind of protect the company. So at the end of the day, when you're working in HR, everything you learn is about protecting the company, not protecting the employee, not making sure the employee has a good experience. Is more of trying to figure out how much the company can get away with without being sued. That's what HR originally was or is now. And some of those things frustrate me because some things I would see and I'd be like, no, that's awful. You know, that's toxic work environment and all that stuff. And then people would tell me, well, it's not illegal to have a toxic work environment. And I'm like, but don't you want it to be healthy for the employee? And no, we're focusing on what's legal. It's not illegal to have a toxic work environment. You know, if you have bosses that are trash and they treat you bad, but they never like sexually harass you, or steal your wages, they just like yell at you a lot and they're mean and they give you like unrealistic deadlines and they don't allow you to like, you know, have a good work-life balance, it's still technically legal to do that, which makes sense in a capitalist society that we live in. But it was really frustrating to me because I'm like, you know, people, you know, they're people. Like, we shouldn't treat them like this. We shouldn't let people get away with it. But it's legal. And that's what HR is there for, to make sure that at the bare minimum, we are just abiding by the law. Everything else is just fluff. HR is there to prevent unions, you know. The idea is that if HR is making you feel even marginally understood or happy, then you're not going to get enough people to want to create a union and then have to make demands and everything. So like that's the whole purpose of HR, you know, keep the company from getting sued, and prevent unions and just keep everything on the legal tip. It has nothing to do with whether or not your boss is intimidating or makes your job really hard by micromanaging you. And if your salary and your boss makes you be on call 24/7, or they have you working until midnight every day, is still technically legal. So the HRs would let it slide. And that was very, very frustrating for me. But I got to tell people, like, HR is not here to help you. HR is here to protect the CEOs and like the owners of the company. That's who HR is here to protect. Now, on the other hand, I am somebody in HR who actually is here for the people, because like I said, what I went through, I don't want other people to go through it. So I do get, I don't want to say reprimanded, but like my superior sometimes, a lot of times, gets on me because I immediately come in with the idea of like, I want to do everything possible to help this person. Like in my current job where people call in for help, I want to do everything possible to help them. And I'm very compassionate towards them and understanding. I don't just transfer people to random places. I don't hang up on people. You know what I mean? Like I try to help them. And sometimes there's things that I can't do that's just not in my power to do. And I still try to go even further to help them. And I get, my superior gets on me like, look, you can't do everything. You can't fix everything. You just got to tell them no and hang up, or you transfer them somewhere and then don't worry about it and all of that stuff. And I don't like that. Because I do care, because I just think about if I was to call in and ask for help, I don't want somebody to give me a bunch of attitude. I don't want to get transferred somewhere randomly and then not know what happened. I don't want to get hung up on, you know what I mean? So I come from that perspective, and there's not a lot of people like me who do that in my current job. So I do end up being the odd one out in that situation. But it frustrates me when someone calls me being who I am and doing what I do and doing my best to like help people and give them answers, or at least help them understand what's going on if I can't help them. It really frustrates me when people call and curse me out because they think that I'm out to get them. Like I've had people say to me, like somebody needed their W-2, right? And they didn't get it in the mail because there was an issue with their address, but we couldn't just resend it to them. So I was going to show them how to download it online. But they didn't want to do that. And they wanted me to, I think that they didn't want to email it either, which I wasn't going to email it to them. They didn't want to email it either. They wanted to get like another one mailed to the right address. And there was some other issues as to why we couldn't do that. And I let them know that, but they just popped the fuck off on me. And they literally was like, it's my W-2. Why are you holding on to it? And I was like, do you think I have it in my hand right now? And I'm just like, fuck you. I'm not going to give it to you. Like, you think I live across the street and I'm just like sitting across the street holding it and going like this, you know what I mean? And like to not give it to you, like that's such a ridiculous statement to me. But a lot of these statements, they just become so personal when it has nothing to do with me, where they're like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you playing with my money? Why won't you give me my money? And I'll be like, what do you mean give you your money? Like, I don't process your paychecks. You know what I mean? I'm not the one that puts in your time and your hours to send the payroll to get paid. That has nothing to do with me. Now, if you want me to help you figure out how to, get your check resent out to you, if you didn't get the last one, that's one thing. But you telling me that I'm taking your money, I'm not. Ain't no money going in my pocket. A lot of people calling me to make more money than me, honestly. But they literally think like it's a personal attack against them, like HR is their enemy and out to get them. We are not. And in the video that I made that I didn't post, I was saying that there's another part of HR that exists in it exists in different departments of HR, but one part of HR is really stopping managers from screwing over their employees. So this is the part that I find value in, because I get to actually help the employee and advocate for the employee. But in some areas, not everywhere, but you all know if you've ever worked anywhere, you've had a bad manager, and sometimes managers think because they're managers that they can just do whatever. Like they could just make whatever happen. Like they snap their fingers, it's done. You know what I mean? And I've had people call me and I give them one answer. They call me again. I give them the same answer. And then the manager calls me and was like, well, you going to make this happen. And I'm like, same answer. It doesn't work that way. And I've had managers who I've literally had to get on them and say, you cannot do that. That is not legal. Stop it. You know what I mean? Because the manager's just like, well, it's good. I'll fix it on the back end. No, don't do this in the first place. And they'll get mad at us. They'll be like, I hate this. You guys are messing everything up. This is your fault. And I'm like, it's not our fault if. So here's some examples. Manager isn't reporting the hours correctly. So the person's not getting paid when they clearly worked. That's the manager's fault. That wasn't HR. Now, the employee will blame HR. Wasn't HR. That was the manager's fault. Manager telling somebody that they can't take breaks at work. HR didn't approve that. The manager decided they wanted to be a dick that day and tell you can't take your breaks. You know what I mean? And, or a manager, just talking crazy to you, making you feel intimidated, making you feel like you can't go to HR, or telling you they don't know who the HR person is or whatever. Like, that is the manager. That is not the HR people. HR people aren't sitting in their office like, don't tell anybody that I exist because I don't want the people to get help. No, it's literally our job to do that. It's literally our job to be, well, not my job specifically, but if you have an HR person at your job, it's their job for you to go to with the complaints. It's their job to stop the company from getting sued because your manager decided they wanted to commit wage theft. And now you have to sue them because they won't give you your money. Or it's not HR's job that the manager decided they wanted to change. One day they say you make this much an hour, then the next day they say you make this much an hour. HR didn't do that. Your manager did that. And sometimes HR will, if I'm the HR person, I will get on the manager and say, you can't do that to this person without a proper, there's steps you have to take. You can't just say some shit and boom, bam, it's done. I can't snap for shit, by the way. You can't just say some shit and then boom, bam, it's done because you're the manager. That's not how it works. Like, you have to go through the proper steps. If you want to change somebody's like pay, change how much they get paid, there's got to be a whole paper trail of the reasons why you did that. Because if we do get sued, you got to have the evidence. You know what I mean? If we get sued and like we go to court and they're like, what's the evidence that you thought it was okay to change this person's pay? And then we're like, we ain't got nothing. That's not how that works. So a lot of times it's the managers who are fucking up. Now, there are some HR people who they don't give a shit about their job or the employees, and they're just there to do their job. And their job originally at this core is to protect the company. So they might come in and try to like find some way to defend the manager's actions to keep from getting the company sued. There are HR people who do that, and that's fucked up. And I don't like those people. I'm not one of those people. Please don't yell at me. And I see something else that I see that makes me upset. And I'm hopeful that my generation and the generation that comes after me, as more of us get interested in HR, that we can really change the landscape of the job, is that the higher up you get in a company, and I'm not even saying if you're like an executive, like you can be an executive assistant, but the higher up you get in the company, the more disdain you have for the people under you. And I saw this in different companies that I worked for. The closer I got to the top, the more it went from how can we support our employees to I'm so sick of these lazy people who don't want to work and they don't want to act right, or they're immature, they're stupid, they're da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's like vitriol for some reason for these people who are beneath you. Like in my situation, I was in one job where I made less than the people that the people at the top were complaining about. I made less than them. And when I would be like actually interacting with the other employees, it would be a thing of like them being like, man, we just feel like don't nobody care about us. We're not feeling supported. We're not getting adequate training and stuff like that. You see those things and you're like, these are things we can fix. We can give you more training. We can give you more support. understandable. And then you go in a meeting with like some higher level people and they're just like, these spoiled employees, we give them everything and they still complain about stuff. And I was just in there like, what? And I wouldn't say shit. I would be really, really quiet in these meetings because I'm not trying to get fired because I disagree with the head honchos or whatever. But you can really see the difference. There was one other company I worked at where the employees felt like they were doing like 2-3 people's jobs instead of one person's job. So they felt like they were really, really overworked. And you know, they were working just ridiculous hours and the managers was micromanaging them and they just felt like they was about to drop. Honestly, it was so much stress on them. And I really felt for them. And then you see the higher up people and they'd be like, just be a better employee. You know, maybe you're just not cut out for this job. Maybe we need somebody with more experience than you because you don't know what you're doing. Clearly, you're the problem. Us making you do 3 people's jobs. No, you should be able to handle that. And a lot of companies have that idea about employees, which is really frustrating. And so then you'll see these people leaving these jobs. And it really pisses me off because it's like, why do y'all hate the people under you so much? I had another company. I know it seems like I've been all over the place with different companies. I haven't job hopped as much as it sounds like I do, but I'm also not going to give specific details about exactly where I was. But there's another situation where I had a higher up person. Because there's some situations too. I was talking to my friend, like sometimes it's not even the manager who's the problem. Sometimes it's like the senior manager or the director who's the problem. You know, sometimes the manager is like really caring about their employees and trying to get them help. And then they go to the higher up people and the higher up people, they shut them down. They're like, no. And so you see some of that too. And so like there's sometimes when you see the people above the manager or the manager's manager be like basically saying my managers are stupid and I should. Morticia, do you need something? Where are you going? Okay. Where they'll basically be like, my managers are stupid and I need to have complete control over everything that they do. And I would be like, that's kind of weird. You know, you hired them as a manager. You should have hired them because you felt like they were qualified to do the job of a manager. And they'll be like, that's ridiculous. You know, these people are stupid. They don't know what they're doing. And I need to have complete control over everything they're doing. I'm like, ain't that giving yourself more work? Why'd you hire them if you didn't think they were capable of being a manager? Like, what happened? You need to look at that first. You don't need to be like, oh, manager level people are stupid. You know, you need to look at why you hired somebody that you think is too stupid to do their job. And so you see like this disdain. And then another thing about these companies is that it's about the bottom line, right? It's about how profitable they can be. And if they can be profitable by cutting salaries, by making people do 2-3 times the work, they're going to do it. And it doesn't matter how nice a company seems on the outside. It doesn't matter how much good they do. Like if they're a nonprofit, it doesn't matter how much good they do for the community. If that's how they treat their employees, it still shows that they have the same problems as for-profit companies. And that was another thing that got me mad because I was talking to my friend she's 62. I love her to death. And she's very, very progressive for a old woman. But she was talking about once they get rid of unemployment assistance, we won't have a labor shortage and everybody will go back to work. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because one of the things that people didn't talk about, and I saw this with larger companies laid off people during the pandemic because of the fact that they knew that they were going to be on unemployment and that the unemployment assistance had been increased. Like companies, some of them you could see them in news articles too, but companies will lay off people and be like, they're actually going to make more on unemployment. So it'd be great if we just lay them off and let the government pay them for a while. And then we save money on salaries. Like companies were saying that shit. It was in news articles. I was reading like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And that just seemed like that was an okay thing to say and do. And then when the people didn't want to come back, all of a sudden these business owners are belly aching, crying on the news, talking about the government's doing too much. They need to take away the unemployment insurance so that they can come back to work. But you took advantage of that as business owners by firing and laying off people or furloughing people because you knew that they were going to make more on unemployment. And you was like, I don't even have to feel bad about firing them. Now you want them to starve again so that they can come work for you for less money. That's something that pisses me off that I don't feel like enough people are talking about. Another thing that enough people aren't talking about, it is not about I can make money, sitting on my ass. It's not about that. Because a lot of people do want to work. A lot of people don't want to be unemployed. Like, I remember one time I was unemployed for like 5 or 6 months. It was awful. I hated it. You know what I mean? And I had the money to just sit around and do nothing. I was getting unemployment. I had money stashed away, all of that. But I hated not doing anything all day, even if I was just doing my hobbies. So people do want to work. They just don't want to do the job of 3 people because the company decided that if they cut people, they save money on salary. You know what I mean? They want to go into a job where they feel like they are valued and they feel like, they're doing work that means something and that their employer cares about them. But employers don't care about people, and I have this friend, I just feel so bad because she slaved away at this company for so many years. And then she was doing much physical work. And then she finally gets to a point where she can be in an office setting. She's like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be so much easier. Because a lot of people who work physical jobs like construction and warehouse and factory and all of that stuff, they think that being in HR or being in an office job is going to be so much easier, right? Because you're just sitting at a computer all day. It's not easier. So this person, they get the job. And they're so excited, right? They're like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the office. It's going to be great. I'm not going to be outside in the heat no more. They get the job. And within like the first week or two, they quit. And they quit because the people hired them. First, they weren't paying them that much. But they was like, this is easier to be in the factory. But the second thing about it was that they were making them do the work of 2 to 3 people. And that was the problem. They threw them in and said, you have to accomplish all of this stuff in a day, which now me having been in office jobs my whole working career, I understand that. That's something that happens to people in office jobs all the time, is that they want you to do as much work as possible within the span of a day. And if you have to skip a lunch or skip a break, they'll make you do it. Because you got to meet those deadlines. And it's usually like they throw some on your desk at 8 and they're like, have this to me by 5. And it's just really, really stressful, but it's what people in office jobs have to go through. But this person was just like, this is way too much. It was very, very hard on their mental health. So they quit. And I supported them in quitting. I said, yeah, and it's not even a situation of like thinking that somebody's weak or anything. But like in my mind, I'm like, if you can't handle having a job where they're gonna make you do a shit ton of work beyond what they originally told you to do, then quit. And it's not that you're weak. It's that the company is trash and they don't value you as an employee. So you should leave. And I'm very cool with saying that to people. I work at the company that my friend used to work at, and they were like, I'll never work for that company again. I said, I don't blame you. What you want me to do? I'm not making enough money to be up here defending the company. I ain't got no stocks or no shares in the company. None of that shit, Aside from my 401k, I guess I don't know what they're doing with it, but as long as it's returning money. But I'm not out here trying to defend no fucking company. And I think that the more we get my generation and younger in the companies, in these HR positions, the more we're going to see a change where we're like, y'all got to pay these people more money or you got to make them do less work, period. Because the labor shortage, and I'm hearing, and in my job in HR, like I'm a very approachable person. People tell me what's going on, and I'm like, what's going on at your location? What's happening? And they're telling me like all these horrible things. If you don't get your tail out of my face. And they're telling me all these horrible things that are happening. And I'm just like, man, that's messed up, And they're like, we can't keep employees. People come in and they quit like the same day. They quit like in 3 days. Like, we can't keep employees. And I'm like, I agree. I see how you wouldn't be able to keep an employee if they was being treated that way. And you see the upper level people being like, people just don't want to work. But then you see the people who are actually affected by these decisions who are just like, no, you're treating us bad and you're not paying us. You know, like the Nabisco workers are striking for a reason. They're not just striking because they felt like it, you know, but people want their jobs. So it's just really frustrating. So like when I say HR is not your friend, but we're also not your enemy, think of like what the core part of HR is, which is to keep the company from being sued because the managers or directors or whatever are doing crazy things to their employees. And then the lower part of it is what HR really should be. And HR really should be a resource for the people working in the company, for the people in the lowest paid jobs in a company. HR should be the people that you look to for support, not the people that you're afraid of talking to because you think that they're going to like find a way to, you know, get you fired. And I've dealt with it. I've dealt with HR people who, if they don't like you, they're going to clock every single thing you do so that it can be used as evidence to fire you. I've had that experience. And I've also had the experience of like certain HR people being like, no, I'm here to help you and I'm going to do everything I can to help you. And I am that HR person. I'm the HR person. And I tell people when they call, you know, no matter how angry or upset they are, I'm like, listen, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you. If it's out of my power, I'm at least hoping that I can make you feel better and like help you understand what's going on and why I can't help you. If there's someone I can send you to, I'll send you to them. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to play games with you. Morticia, please, baby. Morticia's not a lap cat, so instead of sitting on my lap, she just like walks back and forth across my lap. But yeah, that's what I tend to say to people. And my current job, I kind of like it because I do have people call in and they're like pissed off and they're just like so frustrated and nothing makes sense and they don't know what's going on. And then I spend time talking to them, explaining them to what's going on, explaining them what went wrong, explaining them what we can do to fix it. And they feel really relieved. And I really take a lot of pride in that and helping those people. But I also get the people who call and they curse me out like within the first 3 seconds of me answering the phone. And that's not really fun. Or I get people who aren't in the company from outside the company who I have no connection to. I have nothing I can do for them. And they call me and they're just demanding shit. You know, they call me and they're demanding like employee information. And I'm like, I can't give you people's information. And then they're like yelling at me and stuff. And I'm just like, that part I don't like. But honestly, if my job paid a little bit more money, I wouldn't have a problem sitting in it a little bit longer while I work to find something that works for me, because there are jobs out there, but the jobs that I'm looking for, a lot of them aren't offering remote work, which is very frustrating. Or they're doing the thing where they're like 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, but they're still in another state from me, so I can't drive there. And so it's just making it really difficult right now for me to get another job because they're not letting me at least start with remote work. Like, if the job could start with remote work and then I could just move next year, I'll move next year. I don't care. I want to get out of this city. But I'm still seeing like these jobs, they need to be a lot more flexible. And some jobs I'm seeing where they are being more flexible, but I know that company is really trash. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. You're going to take that GED because don't nobody want to work for you. So I'm not taking whatever job comes out, especially if I know that I'm going to go from my current job into something that's even worse and probably pays less money. I'm not doing that. And a lot of people aren't doing that. And that's okay. And I think companies need to step their game up, pay more money, let people have benefits that make sense, health insurance that does not cost $800 a month. I had a job where that was their insurance. These companies, they'll do whatever they can get away with. And HR is supposed to act as the buffer for that, to stop it from going too far. But at the same time, depending on your HR person, they might just say, fuck you, and do whatever it takes to keep their job secure. And so fuck those people. I get it. But before you go yelling at random HR people, just understand that HR is a really, really big umbrella. And different people do different things. Your payroll person is not your recruiter. And your recruiter is not the same person who you call for complaints about a job. And the person you call for complaints about a job is not the same person who does your insurance benefits. So understand that. And if you're dealing with someone for the first time, even if they are HR, just try to come to them. I'm not saying like respectfully, but just like as another person. And then if they come at you with some bullshit, give it right back to them. But try to start off with, respect for another human being, and, just go from there. Because it would really make my job a lot easier if people would just stop yelling and cursing me out about things that I had no control over. Your manager being mean to you is not something that I conspired against you with. I want to stop your manager too. But if you're yelling at me, we can't work together. So that's all I want to talk about this week. Not really. I have most of it I want to talk about. I throw it in here at the end. So, I'm dealing with somebody who's creating a toxic work environment, and my manager called me, and I was like, I don't think we should talk about this right now because I'm really upset. And they were like, no, we got to talk about it right now. Just tell me how you feel. It's just me and you. And I just kind of let them have it. And I was like, listen, bottom line is this is what's going on right now. And it's a big problem, and it's been a problem. I felt like I kind of, if I had any other type of manager than the manager that I have now, that I probably would have been fired. But they know that I do good work, and I've been very committed to helping people. And so they take my suggestions and my frustration seriously, and I really appreciate that. I just wish I had time to write out what I wanted to say so that it came across more professional. But it is what it is. I said it. Can't unsay it now. Hope something comes out of it. It might not. Sometimes toxic people just continue to be toxic as long as they're not getting reprimanded or getting any kind of like warning letters or anything like that. So sometimes toxic people just be toxic, and it unless the manager's willing to put them on like a performance improvement plan or threaten to fire them or something, they're not gonna change. So it is what it is. Hopefully, though, by the end of this year, I will have another position. If not, hopefully by the beginning of next year, I will. So I won't have to worry about this anymore. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about with you guys today. Still not feeling well. Just wanted to make something that doesn't need a lot of editing, or maybe it needs a lot of editing. I have no idea what I just said these past 30 minutes, but hopefully it doesn't. And I can just get this out to you guys. And then I can go back to resting, because I'm in that thing where I feel like exhausted, but I'm not sleepy because I slept 9 hours. So I don't know. But yeah, I just get back to resting and not stressing about other stuff for the rest of this weekend. But if you guys have any experiences, this is what I'm really interested in. If you guys have experiences with good HR people or bad HR people, I'd really appreciate it if you share those experiences in the comments below, because I feel like there's sometimes a lot of people don't understand HR. So certain things they kind of view through a certain lens. And I love helping people like understand maybe where things come from. Like, I won't justify an HR person doing you dirty. That's not, no. But if something happened and you're like, I don't know why they did this, I might be able to help you like understand this is the reasoning behind it. But if you have any other questions about HR related things, or something happened at your company and you want to know like what happened, or you want to have a better understanding of what went wrong, I love to talk about it with you guys in comments. I appreciate all the comments. I like the comments. I comment on the comments and all of that, because all of this, like I said, is a discussion, and I just really like talking to you guys. So like I always say, I hope you guys are resting and drinking your water. I know I am. And taking care of yourself. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.